Yo guys, so this one's very, very casual. It's just a conversation between me and Tom. I found the conversation that was off air is still sort of the same conversation, so I think that's quite a good thing. We're not really... It's not like it's... It doesn't feel like someone's watching when we're actually recording this or listening or anything. Obviously, we know that people are, but... Yeah, I would maybe recommend going and listening to the first conversation with Tom, or if you're really familiar with tmcycles, then I would probably just listen to this one, because, yeah, we covered a little bit on politics, obviously a lot on steroids, and obviously just a lot about bodybuilding culture in general, because, yeah, those are the main aspects that I think we should cover. But, yeah, enjoy this episode. And go follow Tom on Instagram and YouTube. It's tmcycles everywhere, so tmcycles.
People are constantly raising the bar.
Sacrifices need to be made.
What would you guys say are your biggest weaknesses?
You or your enemy right now?
Is success a lie?
Just a fucking podcast.
Everyone all of a sudden with Sarms, right? And I think this is a very common issue. It's like everyone will get their blanket statement opinion about, and they won't even get their own opinion. It'll be like, oh, steroids are good, bad, or whatever, but they won't even have thought about it in depth. They've just sort of gone, fuck it. Jim says this, I'm going to listen to that cunt. And then they don't even have they don't have any real opinion about it.
No, they don't. They seem to have some sort of depiction that here's anabolic steroids that have been researched and they're good to go. Not really any side effects. You'd be absolutely fine on them. No, Sarms, they'll kill you. They'll do. And there's some research into some Sarms that have been for like sort of 10 to 15 years doing research on Sarms. And the simple argument with Sarms is that the potency is never going to be as strong as anabolics.
Yeah.
When you try and make something in a laboratory mimics testosterone or mimics an anabolic steroid, it's never going to be as good as the real thing. And and yesterday on the story I said I think certain Sarms have their place potentially on like estrogen management, for example.
Right.
You can get some Sarms that play into mimicking growth hormone, but as Dr. Dean said yesterday as I was speaking to him, nothing is ever going to trump the real thing. So it's just there's no point. So, but then everyone just goes, right, let me go onto YouTube, let me go onto Instagram. Okay, so-and-so seems to be credible, so let's just go with the notion that, oh, your sums are bad. And it's just ridiculous. It's very much like in the society that we're in nowadays where certain drugs are stigmatized and are really sort of looked down upon. So like I could go out for like, I don't know, 10 pints with a few of the boys, and I'd go on my Instagram story and 10 pints last night, and people would go, yeah, 10 pints. But then I could equally go on my story and say, went out last night to a rave, took an ecstasy pill, and people would go, oh, you did what? You think one is alcohol fueled by like domestic abuse, violence, fights, just a love drug that if you actually look into has minimal fatalities whatsoever. One is like, yay, one is like, oh, you're dirty. It's funny how people just group and
I feel
stigmatize
like,
certain drugs.
especially like, I don't know how political we want to get here, but I did a thing on my other account. It's sort of like my more like high school friend account, all that sort of shit. And I basically just went through and did a bunch of political polls just to sort of see what people thought. And like, for example, I did legalize weed, and then the next one was legalize shrooms. And legalizing weed was like 90% yes, and then legalizing shrooms was like 90% no. And it's just like, I feel like most people haven't even looked into it at all. And I get it's an Instagram poll, right? But it's like, I don't know. I feel like the more and more I talk to many people about politics, it's like, I feel like they haven't even thought about their opinions. And the moment I say anything remotely outrageous, like I'd say my views are more right wing, but even like then you almost get instant hate for that, and it's like,
of course, that's very similar to what we have in the country, in our country right now, with the Conservative government the budget has just been released this year in 2018. Once again, there's been very limited funding towards the health service, towards education, and there's been tax breaks and there's loopholes to make sure that the richest in this country will stay rich and forever continue becoming rich, and the poorest in our society is not going to get the help that is needed. But it's very, I think in all aspects within the younger generation, I think a lot more of us are more inclined to be on the sort of lefty, free spirit side of things now, because I think generally we're slightly more caring as a society, and don't necessarily regurgitate the views of our parents that are very sort of right wing, and which is I think it's quite refreshing to see. But at the same time, I can't stand, and I'm definitely not one of them, these sort of lefty snowflakes that are really easily triggered, that just think anyone that votes different to me, or anyone that sort of likes Trump, for example, is complete scum. Because there's some areas when you speak and you listen to people from the right, you think there's nothing wrong with saying that you want some form of controlled immigration. It doesn't make you instantaneously some racist that you want controlled immigration.
And I feel like they're not drawing the line. They're not saying whenever you say, like, say for example, if I said anything to do with the gender wage gap, if I said it at like a party with people my age, you instantly get called a sexist, or you instantly get, and there's no, why do you think that way? It's more the instant sort of, you must be a Nazi then, like, and I don't know, like sometimes you can have a nice discussion about it, but I feel like it just goes to, it's like, for example, any debate, any argument. Like, if you know Steve from Revive Stronger, he has debates between, like, Mike and Eric, and it's like, they're great debates, but no one is saying, like, oh, fuck you, Eric. No one's saying that. It's like, they're actually debating the logical points. And it's like...
Of course.
I don't know. Like, I used to be quite left-wing, and I obviously, I think those terms are very, like, broad, and obviously, but I feel like the issue is just kind of like... I feel like whenever I look at the left, I wouldn't see, there wouldn't be a good argument. And now you look at people like Joe Rogan, Jordan Peterson, like, and you're seeing all these, like, they're actually debating the points. They're not debating, like, they're not trying to morally posture what their point is. It's like they're actually, and it's like, I feel like it just makes sense in so many more ways. And like a lot of the issues I don't agree with, like a lot of the right-wing quote-unquote issues, but it's like the way they deal with things is much better. And it's like the whole thing, I think you sort of would quite agree with this, is the whole PC thing. It's like, I get like caring for everyone, but there's a point where it just becomes illogical.
Of course, but this is the very similar argument to what's happening in the UK now with Brexit. I think when Brexit first occurred, it was almost like a dirty protest where people thought, look, fuck the establishment, I'm going to really ruffle a few feathers here and vote to leave. And then as month goes on, and we're seeing sort of this degradation as a society and as a country and as a community, and more division than ever. I think a lot of people are going, fuck, maybe I shouldn't have voted to leave. But just on the basis that every time we wake up and hear something new about Brexit, it's always covered in an incredibly negative light. And you could say, oh, well, the media is biased, but in the UK, the media is very heavily biased towards the right anyway. So there's very few papers and there's very few news outlets that are in favour of like a lefty Corbyn style agenda.
Really?
So when you turn on the telly.
Is it opposite
turn on the telly to see that?
Is it opposite to America?
Is it opposite?
Like, I think America's very like, well, from what I see of American media, it feels very left-centered.
I suppose it's what you watch, isn't it?
Yeah, that's
I suppose
the thing.
it's what you watch. But over here with the newspapers, it's incredibly right. The Daily Mail, if you were like an alien and just landed in the UK and you sort of read all the newspapers, and you think, why does everyone hate this Jeremy Corbyn fella? And you think, well, there's certain political parties that only and fundamentally take larger donations from the right-wing media that obviously portray them in a good light. But yeah, just going back to your point about the debate side of things, it's very rare that you can actually sit down. But that's what, when I'm with my friends, we don't talk about religion or politics. That's just the two things we don't go into, because it just gets nasty.
Yeah. And I feel like my friend said something to me the other day. It was like, because I've been getting slowly more and more political, and I think the thing is, like, I'm not going to become a politician, obviously. Yeah. So apart from voting, what is the point of me getting enthralled in it? And I find it hard for me. I found it harder and harder to not get enthralled in it. But he basically said, like, you're just, it's going to end up starting arguments for no reason that have no positive resolution.
Yeah, I think we should all vote. We need to be able to give the opportunity to vote, for the many men and women that put their life on the line to enable us to vote. We shouldn't ignore that. And I'm a big fan of Russell Brand, but when he first came out with, I'm not voting because there's no need to vote. It's the same situation, whoever side of the thing. I thought that was a really sort of pussy move. And then he came out, and then he did that interview with Ed Miliband, who's one of our left Labour leaders, and it was quite refreshing for him then to come out and get a lot of people, either left or right, to vote, which is really, really good. But I get quite passionate about it, probably because my girlfriend is a social worker, my mum is a mental health nurse for the NHS, and my dad's a teacher. So firsthand, I'm seeing continual cuts. I'm seeing my mum and dad have to continually reapply for their job because they're merging, offices, and they're merging schools because there's not enough funding in education. And so I get quite passionate about it. But you just have to be careful with. I used to speak about politics quite a lot on YouTube, and it seems that a lot of my audience back then were quite very heavily right-wing and sort of saw me as a bit of like a lefty snowflake. So some things you just don't mention. If you've got a fitness channel, even though I don't really consider myself fully in the industry, then some things you just keep to yourself, or just speak to your mum and dad and friends about it. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, I feel like, I don't know, even with friends and all that, I feel like it's still so hard to... I feel like unless it's like a really close friend, like say if you're out with a group of friends you know kind of well but not that well, I feel like the issue of politics, it doesn't really come up that often in my sort of friend groups, but it's very polarizing if people do have opposite views. I don't know.
We talk about it quite a lot, but because I think the majority of the younger generation at the moment, especially in the UK, is very left anyway. Yeah. So it's very rare where you'll find someone our age that has had to go to uni, that has had to face the increased tuition fees, that has had to face sort of having to apply for incredibly low-paid jobs leaving university. It's very rare that you'll get someone on the receiving end of that who would vote right-wing. Yeah. It generally, and being incredibly stereotypical here, those that are born with a sort of silver spoon in their mouth and mummy and daddy, and I don't know, maybe in finance and banking, for example, then they're the sort of right-wingers that I think we need to make sure that the rich continue getting rich and make sure their wealth trickles down. Yeah. Whereas we should, and then you just need to turn on the telly and find out some outrageous comments that a lot of the right-wing individuals say over here, which is like the whole situation with food banks. Like we've got individuals who are in full paid work that don't have any money whatsoever and are having to queue food banks. And some right-wing politicians just say, "Oh, it's a cash flow problem." You think, God, this is mental.
What does that mean?
This is crazy.
Like they're just not budgeting. Are they saying they're not budgeting properly?
Yeah.
But it's like if there's that many people trying to, like, having to queue up at food banks, it's like the issue's got to be bigger than they're just spending money on Fortnite or whatever. Like they're obviously not just wasting money. That's not the issue. Like I don't know. I feel it's
with the sad to see. I mean, there's a lot of homelessness at the moment. Like where I work in Shoreditch, there's just so much homelessness, and my girlfriend's running the marathon next year for the homeless charity. But yeah, no, it's very apparent there's a very big divide at the moment. I think within a lot of places, and that is just, I think essentially a lot of that is fueled by the media anyway. So it's you just have to, yeah. It's good to get passionate about it, but don't try not to get too passionate about it to the point where you're going to fucking start losing friends, you know, so.
Yeah, that's the thing. I feel like it's always a balance. It's like, when we talk about, say, like, I don't think I'd ever lose a friend for saying, like, there's a place for steroids, or saying something like that. It's like, I'd never lose a friend for saying that. Or, like, I still have friends who think bodybuilding in general is just purely unhealthy for you. And it's like, I would argue that to death, right? But it's like... Do you agree with that? Do you think that bodybuilding is not unhealthy? Do you think it can be unhealthy? What do you think? Where would you say on that issue? Because I think, like, personally for me, all it's given me is health. But I think now when I look at a normal individual, I think, wow, they look like shit. And I can't help but think that. Like, if I go to the beach and I see 50 bodies, it's like, I look at them all and I'm like, wow, they look like trash. And it's like, I don't know. I feel like, I wonder if I'll ever be at a point...
I think bodybuilding is, if we're talking like the extreme bodybuilding, the guys at the Mr. Olympia, of course it's not healthy. The amount of drugs that they're pumping into their system at the moment, that was not considered a healthy sport. You look at the classic division and you look at the men's physique division, and then you look at these younger generation that aspire to be like Chris Bumstead now. Then you'd look at that and say that, okay, that would be probably considered as a healthy image. But then you just need to peel back the layers and look what happened to Chris Bumstead leading up to the Olympia. Yeah. He has underlying kidney conditions now, whether that's predisposed from a genetic perspective or whether that is taking anabolic steroids. Because let's not be silly here. These guys on the physique stage and on the classic are still pumping themselves with drugs, just not at the higher level of the open guys are doing. So if you were to take bodybuilding as a natural sport with no drugs involved, you could then argue that, well, these natural guys put their testosterone, they plummet their testosterone levels so low that that's unhealthy. So it's like it's finding the happy medium between staying healthy within the sport. Contest prep in general isn't healthy. It's you're defying the object of trying to continually build muscle or preserve muscle mass whilst losing fat. The body doesn't know what the fuck is going on. But if you were to just say bodybuilding, an individual who doesn't compete, that likes to stay fit, that likes to stay healthy, that likes to lift weights and is a bit more muscular than the average person, that's completely healthy. That's absolutely fine. But you look at some people that I speak to in clubs and nightclubs, and they're very easy. And I've said it before on the podcast. They can very easily and quickly point the finger at me and say that you're unhealthy because you take anabolic steroids. When I live quite a sedentary lifestyle, and they are continually blast themselves with drugs and drink, and they're skinny fat. You know, it's the typical skinny fat body, which is they're holding fat around their love handles. They've got like a male fat distribution of fat, so they're holding a lot of fat around their internal organs, which is never a good asset to sort of possess. But if you what's wrong with staying healthy? And we get into such bad arguments when I think it was Protein Works or the Protein World that did the "Are you beach body ready?"
What was that?
Remember that? It was a shredded individual and a woman and a male, and it said, "Are you beach body ready?" And everyone just lost their mind because they were saying that, oh, in order to be beach body ready, you must be conditioned. But then the only people that got offended were the fat people, and the obese people. And when it was this year where it's blown up, I think more than ever, which is this plus size model and the obesity argument, where we have plus size women on the front cover of magazines. Look, I'm all for people feeling comfortable in their skin, absolutely all for it. I prefer a woman to have a much curvier frame than at the other end of the spectrum, which is size 0, incredibly skinny. I think generally as a generation and a society, we are very much more towards that curvier style.
Yeah.
To go to the extreme end of an incredibly obese individual,
it is just ridiculous. Because it's
completely
obviously
ridiculous.
not healthy. Like, I think it was Lane Norton. Have you heard the one of Joe Rogan, Lane Norton, and Dom D'Agostino?
Yeah, he was surprisingly good on. Yeah.
I think I don't know if I'm quoting this correctly, but he said something along the lines of basically the majority of health benefits come from cutting like 10% of the weight or something. And it's like people outside of bodybuilding always give hate towards things like calories in, calories out. And maybe like there are some loopholes and there's some situations where it's not true. Like very rarely. But like for body composition, it's like it's just a fact of life. And people like one of my friends argued the other day that you cannot get shredded on KFC. And I'm like, you actually can. It's just fucking hard. Like, you're just wasting.
Of course, you can get shredded. I like doing it. I like when I'm not competing and I'm going on holiday. I like pissing people off by eating shit because I get into condition. And it's not the best thing because you're heavily underdosing yourself on macronutrients.
Yeah.
But hey, what if I go and eat 5 a day? I have a greens powder, my multivitamins. I have 2 relatively substantial meals that are probably relatively high in protein, quite minimal fat and carb. And I've got, say, 800 to 1,200 calories left. Can I eat a KFC and still be in a deficit and still get shredded? Of course I fucking can.
Exactly.
Of course I can. It's just not optimal because a lot of people in today's world, when it comes down to diet, don't have that ability to eat like that because they binge. It leads into binge. I've had clients that I've had to put on diet plans because they said, Tom, I don't really like this IFYM style of dieting.
Right.
It freaks me out a little bit. Can you just put me on a plan where meal 1, I follow this, meal 2, I follow that? And I'm like, yeah, cool. If that works for you, then let's do that. But I'd say about 95% of my clients are very happy and it can easily work with macronutrient breakdown, caloric manipulation, macro manipulation, and they're comfortable with that because a lot of people like to get to the end of the day and go, okay, I've got 400 calories left. I'm going to have a bit of dark chocolate and a cup of tea. Yeah. There's nothing wrong with that. You know, so it's very individual, and we shouldn't all just say that IFYM is great and people who follow meal plans is bullshit. It's each to their own. But I think a lot of people feel a lot more comfortable with a much more flexible, balanced diet.
I feel like that's the thing, though. It's like with so many of these things, like, for example, Sarms, steroids, dieting in general, it's like, and I learned this primarily from, like, Eric Helms, it's like, you cannot look at it in black and white, and I feel like that's the issue. So many people are just looking at it like, oh, steroids, they're either good or they're bad. And it's like, there's so much nuance to it, and I feel like it's especially with, like, something like Sarms, like, they've recently just come to, like, everyone's talking about them, right? But they've been around for fucking ages, and it's like the thing is, everyone's either just labeling them blanket bad or blanket good, and it's like there's a lot of like.
It's the same with recreational drugs as well. It's quite interesting. I think it's 2019 and 2020. There's 2 studies that are coming out, which I'm really looking forward to seeing, and that is the microdosing LSD and microdosing MDMA for PTSD sufferers. Right. That have been in the war, and I think the microdosing LSD is for cognitive function for those that have some form of cognitive impairment. So I think it's just like it's fantastic that we've been able to fund studies now that are looking into microdosing recreational drugs or drugs that seem to be bad, and any of us can turn on the telly and look at the effects that cannabis does to people that are having seizures, that people are in chronic pain, and for governments to go, no, I'm not listening to that, you know, and just to blindly almost ignore this 6-year-old who's having a seizure that has been given cannabis oil to completely almost go back to normality and to have no seizure within seconds. For you as a country to ignore that is ridiculous.
Plus,
but I think
like there's so many benefits.
Becoming more acceptable of it.
And I feel like like I would love to hear like how far do you think marijuana / weed should be pushed? Like should it be fully legalized, maybe along with some other drugs, or do you think do you think it's sort of like a lot of people will become very, very lazy, or where do you stand on that? And which drugs do you think would be good to legalize? Or do you think there's certain compounds where it's like that shit should just never be, it shouldn't even be near legalized?
But the argument then sort of transitions into, well, if we're making this legal, then, do you know what I mean? And then, because I think a large part of it is regulation and the safety of the substance. Because if you're going to make cannabis legal, if you're going to make LSD or ecstasy or MDMA legal, just from a safety aspect, and you think would crime decrease if you could walk into a shop and buy weed? Possibly. But then you're just going to find people that are going to try and undercut the pharmaceutical companies that are producing cannabis. And there'll still be violence. But in terms of like a one drug that I think that should be legalized, I think anabolics should be legalized. 100%. I think anabolic steroids should be legalized.
Do you think there should be any sort of vetting process, or say, because the thing that obviously I have like no experience with anabolics, never seen one in real life, the closest I've got to anabolics is probably talking to you. Like, that's pretty much my only experience. But I think as you've mentioned this and might agree with this, it's like, I think the issue comes when, say, Johnny wants to go and get shredded for his holiday, but he has no he's been in the gym for 2 months. He trains like a fucking idiot and just thinks he's got bad genetics or something. And like, I think,
because either way, Johnny's still going to take steroids. This is the problem, isn't it? Johnny's still going to take steroids because they're so easily accessible.
That's the
and
thing,
my view is that this anabolic steroid, the movement and the amount of people that are taking them is just forever increasing because the accessibility is so easy.
Because in the UK, you can just order them over the internet, right? You can just order them like you'd order my protein.
Online. Yeah, you can order them online and they get delivered like Amazon. And I went to Greece. I went to Greece about 4 or 5 weeks ago, and I just walked into the pharmacy and said, like, can I have a few bottles of testosterone? And they were like, yeah,
serious?
Sure.
Holy shit, really?
It's not, and that's pharmaceutical grade. You know, that's the sort of pure, like, the pure
solid shit.
Yeah, so a lot of people do fly over to places like Turkey and Thailand where you can just get them across, and then they bring them back here and either take them for themselves or sell them. You know, so, but alongside that, it just needs to be education. There just needs to be so much more education about the safety of anabolic steroid usage. And you've got guys like Dr. Dean St. Mark on the Trained by JP site, who's absolutely fantastic. And we just need to peddle more and more information and just get rid of these fucking lazy assholes that are producing content for the sake of producing content, doing videos on Sarms and anabolics. And there's a guy called, I think, Nick Trigilli. I don't know if you've heard of him.
No,
he's a very big guy.
Right.
But he's just done complete and utter bullshit videos about anabolic steroids, about how tren is the same as primo, how there's 7 different types of estrogen.
Right.
And it's just like, what? And the worst thing about the situation with anabolics is, if someone's big and someone has a whiteboard, then the comment section is, this is great information, great content, thanks for producing this.
Because if they don't know, then they don't know. And it's like, that's the thing.
Of course not.
Anyone can put out a video on YouTube. Like, for example, people come to me for advice about what they should do. Should they get surgery? Should they not get surgery? And we're talking spine surgery. And it's like, they come to me and ask, oh, should I deadlift? Should I squat? And it's like, I'm not fucking qualified. Like, I don't know your situation. It's like,
of course,
just because I've done it myself doesn't mean I can do it for you. It's like, maybe I can help with like a lot of guidance, but it's like, these issues are not that simple. It's same thing with steroids. It's like, for example, someone in my class a while ago said, oh, they said a blanket statement, and I went off at them after this. They basically said, blanket statement, steroids give you, I can't remember what it was. It might have been like a heart attack or something. And then I'm like, there's a lot of steroids. Maybe one of them might increase the risk, but you cannot blanket statement say they all do this, because when you think steroids, right? But it's like, there's so many, and there's so many different like varieties. It's like, from what I know, there's like testosterone, and then tren is way more intense. So it's like, what are we talking here? And people ignore.
Well, 9 times out of 10, 9 times out of 10, the people that come to me, I tell them blindly, stop. Get the thought that you're taking anabolics out your head, because they've got no training experience, they've got no training age, they're too young, they haven't matured, they don't know what they're talking about, and they need to go down the route in which Josh Bridgman, who that I'm sure that many people listening are aware of. Josh, he has done what would be the perfect procedure in competing multiple times as a natural, building fundamentally an incredible foundation of muscle mass before then going, look, I'm busting my bollocks here, I want to become pro. I have no doubt that he'll become pro.
100%.
Then now is the time to take anabolics. I think if you were to poll like 100% of people, 99% of people would not even be ready to take anabolics, because they're not meticulous. They're not meticulous about recovery. They're not meticulous about training, about nutrition, about sleep. I think if you were to grab like 100% of the people that are interested in, only 1% of those people would be or have full understanding of recovery, sleep, nutrition, training.
If that, like, I don't know how many people want to take it. Like, how many people like Josh are there out there? It's like, if I was ever going to take anabolics, it's like I've been lucky enough to know people like yourself, where it's like, you've basically said, like, don't even fucking think about it for fucking years until you actually got things down. And it's like, I was just looking before, and it's like, like the last time the first podcast we did was like a year ago now, which is crazy to think, but it's like, say if, for instance, after that I was like, you know what, fuck it, I'm going to get on anabolics. Looking back now, I realize I knew fucking nothing, and I didn't train. I trained like a fucking idiot, and I reckon I've gained like a solid like 5 or 6 kilos of muscle, maybe something around that sort of area. And it's like, and I've only just started like doing it really, really properly. And it's, and I look at 99% of people, obviously this is in New Zealand, but it's like, I'm assuming it's similar there. Most people's form is shit. They have fucking horrible programming. It's like, half the time they do bullshit exercises, and it's just like, it's just fucking.
They don't train harder than that.
Fuck, like,
I've had this newfound since working with Callum, and I've had the chance to train with James Hollinshead at King's as well, our local gym. The bar for me is being continually raised for my appreciation towards true training intensity. So when I go and just train on my own, I'll still train incredibly hard and to failure, and a lot of the time I'll ask someone for a spot but then I'll sit there and I'll look at some people training and I think, wow, I know you're on steroids and you aren't even going to failure. And I think it's very clear where we stand with like RPE scales and reps in reserve. Like, regardless of if you're a natural or not, why are you stopping short? Why are you training to RPE of 8? Fatigue management. Well, you can still train to failure. Focus on fatigue management and recovery, and you have to fucking deload it. The amount of people that I see deload so much, I think, what are you doing?
Do you ever think? I almost disagree, because, like, say for someone, I think this is someone like myself. Like, I find myself riddled with injuries, like 6 weeks in, and I think for a long time I was doing just shit volume and like too much volume, and I think, like, do you see a place for going to things like RPE 8 or going to things like RPE 9 even? Or do you think majority should be RPE 10 if form stays consistent?
For a lot of my newbie clients, possibly. For the advanced lifter that has been in the gym 4, 5, 6, that has a true understanding of execution of the movement that they're training, that has a true understanding of form, why the fuck are you holding reps back? You're in it, like, and then okay, look, if you're talking about overall volume, then pull back on your volume, and go for that much lower volume, higher intensity. And we're just regurgitating what Dorian did. So we had Dorian Yates. He's then now too busy smoking weed in the mountains somewhere. Now trained by JP has regurgitated that mentality, and now everyone's training to failure, and everyone's screaming and shouting and having seizures on the floor after doing their deadlifts there. But that I would say that is like a true representation of how training should be. You know, because I've done both. I've trained like quite high volume, and the results that I've got now, I know drugs play a huge role in it. But in terms of like overall muscle maturity and thickness, I think real dense muscle tissue is attained through those last reps where you've got nothing left on a big compound movement, and then maybe possibly look at, I don't know, RPE with isolation movements. But even with isolation movements, I still go to failure.
Well, yeah, because it's still like, I definitely agree there, because it's like, but I think the danger is, the thing that I'm scared of with that mentality, obviously I'm like hypersensitive to it because of the scoliosis population. Like, also, did you see my story about
Yeah.
I like laughed so hard at the next story. It was like, James is in a triggered little snowflake.
Yeah.
Fuck. Like, the thing that I'm scared of is people in my situation will, and even just random kids who have just started training, and this is something that I detest quite a lot, is, for instance, someone like yourself, someone like Josh, someone like your coach Callum, it's like highly educated, understand the form, know what you're doing, and it's like, obviously, you're not going to go to stupid failure. But then it's like, there's people in the gym who, especially when they're new, and especially if they're new and they really want to make progress, they will go in and do just absolutely fucking ridiculous shit. And it's like they're doing it with horrible form, going to failure, but in reality, it's not muscular failure. It's just fucking stupid failure. And it's just systemic fatigue for no fucking reason.
Of course, yeah.
And I feel like that's the thing I want people to understand is like, muscular failure is very valuable, obviously, but it's like, I feel like
you can do. I don't doubt that there would still be progression if you were to train at the like an RPE of 8 and then continually improve on progression in terms of either a rep scheme or weight on the bar. There's no doubt. But I think bodybuilding is such a fantastic sport, and it's incredible when you train with like-minded people like that.
Yeah.
I can't see like today I'm training a push session. I said yesterday, if anyone wants to train, come to Kings and we'll do a push session. I can't see myself going in today, whacking however much on the bar and then stopping at RPE of 8. I'm like, because people, especially in my gym, if you did that, people would go, what are you doing? Like they'd say, finish the set, why are you stopping now RPE of 8 today, mate? It's like, what the fuck?
Yeah.
So don't get me wrong. If you are a newbie and you don't understand form and you haven't nailed the basics of nutrition and recovery, then focus on form and RPE and then look at progression. But if you're an individual that's been in this industry for 5 or 6 years and can nail and can honestly say, my sleep's on point, my nutrition's on point, and you're still training RPE scale, oh, come on, man, what the fuck? Do you know what I mean? That's my stance on it. And everyone's got an opinion when it comes down to RPE. And
I do agree for the most part. Like, I think, I don't know. I think it's different when it's someone where it's like they have this. I think with scoliosis, it's very like you can fuck yourself up pretty easily, but it's like then you look at someone like AJ Morris, right? And he's fully like, he's the nattiest of natty, right? And it's like,
yeah.
And then the argument can't be natties have to train to RPE 8 or 9 consistently, because you look at him fucking deadlift, like it's like he's not really doing like the majority of the time he's not doing some pussy like.
No, he's strong. He's a strong guy.
He's a strong motherfucker, and you wouldn't expect it, but it's like when I first interviewed him, I didn't realize how fucking like how influential he was as a natural bodybuilder, and also how good his physique and lift was. It's like
I enjoy his content. I'll if I'm about to go and train, he's one of the first people I will go on to look at on Instagram to give me some form of motivation. I think he's great. I think he's really good. We just had a couple of times we had a little run-in where, look, I'm an individual that likes to take the piss at people. That's probably my biggest downfall. Because I
think
don't
it
feel
produces
like
some
I'm
good
fully
content sometimes, though.
Of course, but like I am an individual that likes to just live as free as possible.
Yes.
So if I want to say something, my friendship group outside of the fitness industry, we mug each other off all the time.
Yeah.
But none of us get upset enough to go, oh, don't say that about me. So because because I'm not necessarily inside the fitness industry, as much as I love clients, I love training my clients, I love getting results, I love competing, I love nutrition, I love training, I love meeting Josh, because I'm not fully inside that bubble and I'm sort of semi in it, I can sort of stand outside and point in and sort of take the piss out of people, and people enjoy it, because 9 times out of 10 what I say on Instagram, I'll have hundreds of people say, thank you for saying that. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
And I can quite easily see people try and imitate others and try and put on this facade and try and put on this alter ego that isn't them. And you see it so much in the fitness industry. People are trying so hard to be someone that they're not. And you see it all the time, you know. And I just like touching upon things. Like, we had this spate of everyone that jumped on camera and started crying. Why are you crying? Remember, Chris Bumstead cried because he had a fucking legit reason.
Oh, yeah.
He was about to die. And then Brad Harding cried. And then George Osborne cried because he couldn't lift the weights in the gym. So, like, part of me is watching that going, respect to them because they're showing their true emotion. You know, it's great. But then a part of me is watching people crying, going, you're crying because you know what sort of response you're going to get from people going, Ray, well done for being open about your fucking emotions, man. It's like, oh, fucking hell, come on.
Yeah.
Is it really that big a deal?
Do you feel like it's a similar sort of thing that's happening right now with Sarms? Yeah. Yes,
100%. Everyone latches onto a trend.
Exactly.
And they feel, I must give my opinion on it because my opinion... Yeah, quickly get in and out, like the Love Island effect. You're only there for a year. Sell yourself to the devil. Make as much money as you can. People just try and jump on the bandwagon. But going back to AJ, I think he's really inspirational. I watch a lot of his content, but I just gave a little sly dig about the way that he finishes certain movements. I think that's great. Like, that's Oscar worthy. Sometimes, like, the way he bangs the weight down, I think that's amazing. Like, that is amazing. And, like, I can tell he's going to true failure, but there's part of me is thinking that's a little bit of acting in there as well, isn't there, mate? Come on. That's brilliant.
Right. And
but I'll say it to his face. And we can joke about that. And I'll go and like, Brandon Harding yesterday did this post about, since I came out with a video about anabolic steroids, everyone's followed. It's like, motherfucker,
you're like,
I've
been
doing this for 6 years.
Bitch, please.
What are you talking about?
You're like, are you fucking kidding me?
The worst thing was that he print screened all of these YouTubers that have no idea about anabolics. Like Ryan Casey, Matt Does Fitness, FaZe, who's like a fucking Xbox player or some shit.
FaZe Sensor.
I think is it. So, and then he's like, I respect all these people that are talking about anabolics. Like, what? And he knows about me. Like, don't act like you don't know about me, because what happened was Brandon came to me when he was first.
It was like,
you know what, and I spoke about that. And he came to me, I think the day after he did a video about anabolic steroids. He was like, it'd be good to link up. And I said, look, I respect that you've come out about anabolic steroids, but this isn't your lane all of a sudden. You don't just get to start talking about anabolics and then come to me, someone who's been doing it for 6 years, and say, let's meet up and talk about steroids. It don't work like that. So I said, look, continue doing you, and then in a few months' time, maybe we'll link up. But just because you've talked about anabolic steroids doesn't mean I'm going to fucking bend over and go, right, come on then, let's jump inside Tommy's fucking arsehole and start talking about steroids and try and... It don't work like that. Yeah,
it's just like, I feel like there's been this whole... I feel like only recently is it changing, right? I feel like it started from like people like yourself, people like JP. It's like the acceptance and realization that anabolics are not... People who take steroids are not just these devils. It's like there's reasons and there's legitimate reasons. And then you get the people like Brandon Harding hopping on. It's like, now I feel like more and more people in the industry are becoming more okay with it. And it's like, if you talked about it a few years ago, and I was barely in the industry then, or even watching anything in the industry, you were a horrible person if you did steroids. It's like, okay, fucking, like, is everyone really making up their mind all of a sudden, or is that just...
They should have stayed natty. They should have stayed fake natty, because honestly, if you're someone that started your career and gained your following through being a fake natty, and now you come out and say, I'm on gear, respect me, you're a pussy. straight pussy. Because what's going to happen is those hundreds of thousands of followers that you built upon when you were in the game, saying that you were just eating chicken rice and broccoli and training hard, and now you switch to saying, oh, actually I was taking gear. What's going to happen to those hundreds of thousands of kids that followed you at the start?
Yeah.
They're going to think, oh, it's acceptable for me to follow in his footsteps, and now I'm going to take gear. Stay fake natty, and just have to accept the hate.
And I feel like
you know what I mean, Simeon Panda's done a good enough job of saying fake natty. Do you know what I mean?
He's done it for quite a while, hasn't he? And it's like, I feel like, oh, but the thing is, I would much rather that we just see a total turnover. Like, it's like, I would much rather the transparency, because the thing I get now is, you look at people like Nunes, right? And you look at people like Jeff Alberts as well. It's like, no one believes they're natty, right? And it's like, if I show them anyone outside of bodybuilding a picture of Nunes, they're like fucking fake natural, and it's like the comprehension of like what is possible naturally is so low now. It's like they think you can only look like student aesthetics or some bullshit. It's like and
that's what I said the other day. I don't want to be one of these people that go, oh yeah, just because he's bigger than me, he's on steroids. Because I know there's naturals that are bigger than me. I've got shit genetics, and I probably like going out too much and could look better, you know, if I didn't. But then, like I said, there was a guy in the gym called like Mike Thurston. Don't know if you've heard of Mike Thurston.
I think I've heard.
But he was he's a big guy. Like I saw him in Kings, and he was training with a couple of his other mates. And I went on my stories and I was like, this guy can't claim natural. And everyone was like, nah, Tom, he claims natural. I was like, shit. Like, he's a big guy. But then at the same time, when I was doing it on my story, I was like, I really don't want to be one of these people that just says, like, oh, he's fucking... But 9 times out of 10, and the way that I was watching them train, I was thinking, nah, you can't train like that and look like that.
Yeah.
And be natural. Do you know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So, it's just a bit like 9 times out of 10 when someone says is so and so on steroids, I just fucking ignore them. Or like I just don't care if they are or they're not. But I just have a massive problem with this new wave of people that are trying to gain some form of respect for coming out. There's a little bit of respect. Fair play to you.
Yeah.
Like, fair play. But remember, you've built a very large following on people that are anti-steroids.
Yeah.
And that have, you know, that you've... And I think it was Brandon that said... oh yeah, for too long we've had people make money off individuals that have lied about it. I'm like, the print screens that you just put up, are of people who have made substantial amounts of money whilst being fake natty. Like, sometimes I've got to pinch myself because this fucking fitness industry is so funny.
I fucking swear to God,
it's just weird.
Like some of the shit.
I'm getting called all types of things at the moment. The new one for me is like, you're a poster boy for drugs because I go to Ibiza and take ecstasy and shit, and everyone's like, nah, no. Like, I just find it so funny. It's you know,
I don't know. It's like,
endearing.
well, the thing is, because I think you're not afraid to say controversial things, right? And I feel like that's why people are so like this. If someone's a fan of you, they're a big fan of you, right? It's like they're not.
Of course, yeah.
Yeah, it's like they're not going to be like, oh, he's all right. It's like they're very, and it's very polarizing, right? They're either going to fucking like be like, oh, fuck that guy because he said something you disagree with, right? And it's like,
yeah, I agree with that.
I feel like that's the best way to be, though. It's like, it's much better than being some wishy-washy shit where it's like you actually have nothing interesting to say and no one actually gives a fuck about your opinion. It's like, what is the fucking point? It's just like I would much rather be that way, and you're gonna get a lot of hate that way.
I see a lot of people that are wishy-washy, and then understand that they're wishy-washy and go, "Fuck, I really need to nail myself for something here because people think I'm a bit boring," and then you'll start seeing this weird transition in people that are like, "Hello, I'm the guy that doesn't give a fuck." It's like, look, stop. You shouldn't have to tell me on camera that you don't give a fuck.
Yeah.
Your actions and your general, you know, the way you hold yourself like, you never see me on YouTube go, "Hi guys, I'm tmcycles. I don't give a fuck and I'm really opinionated." I just thought, like, it's just so funny when you see people try really, really hard to try and fit into that I don't give a fuck mentality. and it just doesn't work.
They're always trying to
It
portray
really
this
doesn't work.
shit. And it's like the same thing with like random people on social media. They're always trying to be like, oh, look at all this shit I do, and it's making me really rethink social media, because I think it's a fantastic tool, but half the cunts on there are just trying to show like, oh look, I have friends, guys, look. It's like, fuck's sake, if you really,
I really like them accounts.
it's like, fuck, if you really didn't have to prove that, you wouldn't fucking show it. It's like, come off it. Like
those people that are. Sometimes there's like people at a house party, and like one of them will get in the bath and go, look at me, I'm wacky, I'm in a bath. Like, you're so fucking weird. I love it. That brings me such joy when I see people try really, really hard to be someone they're not. It's just the most fascinating thing.
I feel like it's a bit frustrating, but it's kind of like it makes people like yourself, like Mo Samuel, stand out, because it's like a lot of the time there's no. Like, I think this is why people like your followers, Mo's followers, really like you guys, because even when I've talked to Mo like off air, like we had a really good conversation off air, completely like none of it was recorded, and it's like he was exactly the same. So it's like, what does that say? There's no bullshit.
Yeah, that's what people say to me when they meet me.
Exactly.
Like, oh, you're like tmcycles. What do you mean? I'm not fucking. I'm not like his weird twin that I just go to Body Power Expos and pretend that I'm tmcycles. I'm like, I am him.
Fuck.
And then you get these really weird people that go to expos and they queue up and then they come to meet you and they don't say anything. They just look at you. I'm like, you alright? I'm like, yeah. So I'm like, come on, man. Like, and it's really, really strange for me because because I'm quite into. Like, it's only this year that I've really jumped on the Ibiza bandwagon, because I spent a lot of my early years around like doing bodybuilding and probably didn't let my hair down as much. But along with what my audience members follow, that sort of goes hand in hand, and it's great to go and see people when I'm out at like raves, and the same as Mo Samuels. Mo Samuels sees people at festivals all the time. But it's it's really strange because some people meet you and they're like so starstruck they can't speak, and it's weird for me because I'm just like a normal, I'm just like a normal guy. I'm just at a house rave, and it takes them a while to kind of relax. But I try as best as possible to try and make these people feel, at ease, and I'll ask them questions and things like that. So, the expos are weird.
I think the thing is though, like, say if I like went to England and I met you, I think I would still be like, oh shit, like he's real, because it's like I've only ever seen you through a screen. So I think even I've probably talked to you for like 4 hours or something. It's like, and I've known you for like a year now, and it's like, I don't view you as this like weird celebrity where I'm like, oh shit, he's over there.
Yeah. But Josh Bridgman was like that when he first came to my flat. When me and him first trained together, he was like sitting here on the sofa like, oh my god, I'm in tmcycles' house.
Like, I was like, if I ever came into your flat, I'd be like,
wanna...
holy shit, what the fuck, it's real.
Yeah.
It's like a set almost. Yeah. It's like, I've seen it on YouTube and I've seen it on Instagram. It's like, I get that feeling. Like when I first saw Eric Helms, because we did the podcast in person, I was like, holy shit, he's real.
Yeah.
It's fucking weird.
I was like that with Eric Helms because we had him over for Shredded by Science with Mike Zudos. And we had Dean Somerset over this week, and we had like Nick Terminello, and it's weird because obviously I've been working with these people editing them, so when I see them face to face, it's quite strange. But yeah, I know what you mean, and I think a lot of I've got quite a relatively small following in the grand scheme of things. Like I've only just got under 16,000 on Instagram and sort of maybe 30,000 on YouTube, but I think my engagement's a lot higher than some people that have like hundreds of thousands of followers, because the people that have hundreds of thousands of followers, their audience members don't really respect them. And as you said, it's wishy-washy. They just tune in now and again. Whereas I'll get people that are really annoyed if I don't upload on YouTube. They're like, what the fuck are you playing at? Where's the next video? And I'm like, mate, I'm fucking busy. You know what I mean? I'm moving flat. I've got work. And they're going, oh, for fuck's sake. What am I going to do for my cardio?
They're getting proper mad. Mate, my cardio, I'm on contest prep, and I don't, maybe you should watch something else, man. Like,
I'm really sorry, but I'm kind of busy at the moment.
Oh,
and they're
shit.
like, oh, fair enough.
Yeah, like I don't know if I'll ever get proper into YouTube. Like I don't know if it's my medium, but fuck, like I don't know if I'll ever get that. But Jesus Christ, I can't even imagine that.
You
And, like,
should, man. I think you should start a YouTube channel because
I've
follow
got
many
one,
people.
and it's like one.
Yeah,
Like, I've got
I
a
don't.
few videos. They've done like there's
Yeah,
a few videos that have done decently well, but it's like, fuck.
yeah,
I find it. I don't know. Maybe I'll be better at it now because I feel like I'm like, for example, with the podcasts. I used to be quite like, say for our first podcast, it was very like,
yeah,
"Hi Tom, welcome to the Project
Yeah.
Hustle. How do you fucking
yeah.
like
Make
yeah,
a video.
Yeah, it's like, yeah, it's like literally like,
But your confidence has grown. You can see that. And I don't follow many people on Instagram, but I like following you just because your story. It's like this kid. He's got scoliosis. He interviews people. He's quite cool.
yeah,
Like, and I really, that for me is great. I really like tapping into that shit. And I like when you do stories and like you zoom in on your face and shit. Like weird stuff like that really gets to me. So
yeah.
it's like you should just tap into.
Do basically a story,
But
on
maybe
YouTube.
just even like the behind the scenes sort of shit for YouTube. That or people like that sort of, the people dig that stuff like behind the scenes and podcast setups and stuff like that, or like interviewing.
I would
It's ju-
like
yeah,
to
you should
do it
you should just roll.
because I feel like now, like the last time I tried to do YouTube, I did like a few vlogs and shit, and it's like I had no real following, and still my following is very very small, but I have a few people now where it's like I'll get messages from people and they'll interact with my posts, and I feel like they'd be like, if I just disappeared off the face of the earth, they'd be like, oh shit, what the fuck, like they'd actually notice. And I feel like that's only really happened in the last 6 months or so, and it's weird, but it's very cool to realize, oh shit, like,
We've all got to start somewhere.
oh yeah, like there's people,
I started with no one.
and like how long have you been at this
You know,
now? It's been like
6 years.
Yeah, fucking hell. It's like
You know what I mean?
that's the thing people don't realize.
In theory, I should have Brandon Harding's numbers. Maybe I've done it all wrong. Maybe I should have started my YouTube channel, start jabbing myself with a lot of steroids and not say anything about it. Wait 5 years until I've got hundreds of thousands of followers and go, hey boys, I'm on fucking gear.
Fuck
And then
that shit.
now all of a sudden I've
Honestly,
got even more
fuck that.
respect.
Because it's
Do
like,
you know what I mean?
like I was thinking the other day, it's like, oh, imagine if I just trained really, really well, like better than I do now,
Yeah.
did that for 3 more years, stayed natural, then basically did what Josh did, but didn't tell anyone about it. And like,
Yeah.
I could be like the next David Lade or some bullshit, because I've got a pretty cheesy story that I can sell, right? But then it's like,
Yeah, 100%.
exactly. I was talking to my friend Ari, and she was basically like, and I said like, it's pretty much a breach of my morals. It's like, why would I do that shit? It's like, when I look at the people I respect, it's like the people who have had the most influence on me in this industry have not been the fucking, the Christian Guzmans and all that. It's been people like yourself, people like Eric Helms, people like Steve, AJ. It's like,
Of course.
it's like people like Josh, Mo Samuels. It's like, I just don't see them ever like bending their morals to get shit. It's like their morals, like, it's just like they're not lying or doing dumb shit or bending their morals to get into it.
Yeah, no, you've got to stay. And even with like me and now being signed with a supplement company, which I thought I'd never have the opportunity to do so, but I'm working with a company at the moment, and we've been working, and I've made like a decent amount of sales just on the basis of my brutal honesty about supplementation. Like sometimes my supplement company will send me stuff, and I'll say this is horrible.
Yeah,
Like and people. Like I'll do a taste review or look at the panel breakdown and go, right, this is absolute shit. and people message me going, Tom, mate, like, does your sponsors not fucking hate you? You shouldn't be saying that.
But
like,
that's
I'm not. Why am I gonna sell a product that tastes like shit?
Yeah.
Make a couple £100 because I've made a discount code from it, and all that's gonna happen is someone's gonna drink it and go, Tom's a liar.
Yeah, exactly. That's the thing.
So I just think, well,
it's
stay
like
true
long
and-
term. Like long term,
Yeah.
if you're able to keep up the actual like mindset that you've got right now, and like just the like genuine like content, it's like in the long term, I think that plays out. Like you look at someone like 3DMJ, and I think like they're just a phenomenal coaching group, right? And it's like they're just phenomenal, but it's like they don't make sexy content. What they make is real content that fucking works, right? And it's
Yeah.
like, that's not what the average gym bro is following, but it's the people who follow it and actually listen. It's like they get way more value out of that. It's harder to digest.
You have to be very, you have to be very calculated and quite precise with, the sustainability as a business model when you come in the industry.
Yeah.
You have to be, because a lot of the time people will get a very, very large following very quickly and not know what to do with it, and then they'll just drop off the face of the earth, and then they'll start selling many vids of them in the shower naked for $5.99 a month. And they think, it's all gone south now because they're having to physically prostitute themselves out for money. But then there's areas where, it's a very, because it's so saturated, and especially when it comes down to like anabolic steroids at the moment, we're seeing a lot of people that have like PhDs, that have chemistry, that have biology degrees, that like are on Trained by JP style, for example, that pay $6.99 a month. Now I've got my own members forum that people pay, and I don't have the credentials and the education that these guys have, so I then have to be quite smart with how I play this and go, right, I'm never going to have that level of understanding and knowledge that these guys do, but at the same time, these guys, it's too confusing. Like the amount of times that people go, I've just listened to what Dr. Dean St. Mark said about anabolics, and I am fucking clueless about post-cycle therapy, about arimidex, about estrogen. And I go, right, this is my niche still, where I can break down as best as possible their interpretation of years of scientific studies, and I can do it on one whiteboard, and people go, thanks, I understand.
Exactly, that's the thing.
So it's been very clever about it.
Especially like, I think, like it's very hard to do that, but I think if you can do it about the right things consistently, then I think it's just going to be incredibly beneficial, especially for something like steroids, because it's like when I first got into this industry, it's like you couldn't fucking find anyone talking about steroids. It's like, and I had no clue where to look, and it's like I didn't even realize. Oh, I don't know who it was. I think it was maybe on Josh's podcast, someone's podcast, maybe on the Muscle Mentors podcast itself, but I think it was Callum maybe, or someone else, who's basically said, effectively you can reduce the majority of the side effects of steroids if you post-cycle therapy, if you do PCT properly. And it's like, that's the thing. It's like, that thing isn't, they don't talk about that. And I think it's like they never... No one's bringing up the bits like that. No one's bringing up the bits that are actually positive about these things. It's like, for example, weed. It's like people look at like they're either like completely negative or completely positive. But it's like the last time it's illegal here. So the last time I theoretically smoked weed, it was like I don't know if that matters or not, but it's like
no, it doesn't.
No, but it's like the way it made me think about things was very different, because I hadn't done it in 6 months, a year, maybe something like that, but quite a while. And it's like, I just did it like alone, and I just sort of thought about things, and people don't talk about the weird ways that certain things can make you, certain compounds can make you think about things. And I think that's, it's quite a fun thing.
Like, Ben Escrow, the co-owner of De Novo, who you just had on the podcast, he came up with the idea of Utopia whilst on shrooms.
Really?
And that was his thought process of, okay, I'm on a shroom at the moment. What product can I find? What compound can I find that's legal, that mimics the same response that a shroom would do? And we did it. And now Utopia is it's one of the, like, I've banged on about Utopia for probably 2 years now, since I first took it, when I first spoke to them guys at De Novo in Texas. And you take the product and it's just, it's unbelievable. But
I want to try it so bad.
I think this year as well, people have not only been quite accepted of like anabolics, but about like recreational drugs as well. Like Joe Rogan's very big on the whole psychedelic side of things, which I think is really, really good, about how everyone should experience, their own ayahuasca experience and things like that. And I think it's really good. And it's just the same with anything. If you don't abuse it, it's not going to harm you. Like you hear you hear horror stories of people like that take loads of ecstasy at a festival and drop dead. It's like, well,
how much
if you
are they
take
taking?
3
Like,
pills, yeah,
they
if
being
you take
fucking
3
stupid,
pills of
like-
ecstasy, and the stuff that's going about is strong. Like it's so strong. Like my mum and dad used to do it back in the day, and it was I don't think it was as strong. So you could get away with having a few.
Yeah,
but now
yeah.
the milligram by milligram dosage of ecstasy is incredibly strong, and you only need sort of like a little quarter or a half to be completely completely flying. You know.
Like if I was gonna
But at
try
the same
it, I
time-
would like just go like
Yeah.
bare minimum, because it's like I would be scared because I have no clue what it entails, right? No clue at all. Like I'd be wondering, would I be seeing fucking triangles? Like what the fuck would it entail?
Nah.
And it's like
But it's not like a you don't sort of trip on ecstasy.
Yeah, like you don't
it's
see
not
like
something that you take in. No, you just become it's
Do you
it's
feel
all it
different?
is
Is it like-
essentially. Oh,
but
it's
even with weed,
it's
it's like
a
even
huge.
with weed, I feel like I see. For example, I remember when I was like 14, I was sitting on a bench with my mate, and we were high as shit.
Yeah.
And it's like, it was at night, and we were looking out. I've got the view right there, but it's like we were looking out into like the Sky Tower and the Nice Harbour Bridge, and then we're looking at the waves, and I was just like, Jesus Christ, the waves look fucking dope right now. And it's like,
Yeah.
is it similar to that, where it's like normal things
it's
that you can
very
tell what they
similar.
are? It's not a fucking dragon, but it's like.
No, so it's not like LSD or acid where things would be melting or anything like that. It's just essentially ecstasy is a huge serotonin release.
Oh,
you know, you
right,
become incredibly loved up. You become incredibly friendly, and you have conversations that are just you think, what am I talking about? But
I feel like this is the perfect drug for me. Like.
Well, yeah, but this is it. This is why they're doing the low. And there's a guy called Darko who was on the Shredded by Science Academy, who I'm going to get on my podcast, who suffered from quite severe depression, and he didn't want to take antidepressants, so he started taking very, very low dose ecstasy, MDMA, and he said it improved his it took him out of that depressive state incredibly quickly. But the thing with like ecstasy at the moment is what they're trying to roll out in festivals is this tent where you can go in with the pills that you're about to take, and you can test whether or not that they're going to be that they have like trace elements of I don't know whether it's I can't remember what the actual compound's called that can quite badly fuck you up. PT something, but it's rolling out the safety behind it, and it's very much the look. We are never going to eradicate drugs, so let's
100%.
try as best as possible
Exactly.
to try and educate and inform people that if you take it in low dose and if you take it, then you can enjoy it. It's one hell of a drug. It really is. Like,
it's just like it's. I feel like it's a good metaphor. Is like it's like sex with teenagers. It's like you're never gonna get rid of sex with teenagers. Just fucking give them condoms. Like
exactly.
Simple.
Exactly.
Like, give them the
Precisely.
fucking tools. The same thing with steroids. It's like people need to be fucking educated, because if you just blanket statements say no, steroids are bad, they'll kill you. Like then people who are gonna do them anyway are gonna think, oh shit, like there's nothing I can do about it. They don't even know what PCT is. It's like that shit is just like
I know. Yeah.
it has to be talked about, and it's
funny. It's funny, Luke Johnson, Luke Johnson from Treated by Science.
I've had him on
He's
as well,
never
yeah.
done anything in his life. He's never smoked a cigarette, he's never smoked a joint, he's never taken any drugs. And he sort of jokingly said yesterday, I've never done any drugs and I'm probably going to die before all of you lot. Do you know what I mean? It's just like, it's quite surreal when you see these cases of people that live to their 90s and hundreds that have taken cannabis and like the oldest people in the world like drink Guinness every day and take fucking drugs and shit like that. It's like, and look, we're all gonna die. We're all gonna die at some point. And I think the older I get, the more sort of detached almost I become from society and become without making myself sound like some sort of hippy dippy free spirited individual. I'm in like a really good place at the moment, and just having the freedom to do what you can do, and the freedom to say what you can do, and just that just alleviates so much stress from you as an individual.
100%.
You can just live, it's fucking, just stay young, stay as young as possible.
Yeah, I feel like there's something that really pisses me off with like people like our age. It's like, I feel like so many of them, right? It's like they fucking, oh, this is why I'm such a big fan of Jordan Peterson. And I think the things he's saying are so basic, right? In a lot of ways, but it's like, he basically says, like, have something to fucking work for, and like have something to pursue, and make your life have an actual purpose. And it's like, this is why I think fitness is quite like, it's quite eye-opening, especially when you get into like fitness content creation. Like, there's not one person or very few people that I've interviewed who have been doing something similar to like yourself, Josh, etc. It's like that have not seemed as though they're fulfilled or like passionate. And it's like, I feel like everyone I fucking talk to in my age, it's like they're so fucking not unpassionate. And I'm like for example, like I've been on. Do you have Tinder in Britain? Like whenever I'm going on Tinder, it's like every fucking girl they say like, oh, I like to watch Netflix and fucking I like dogs, and I'm like, are you fucking kidding me? Is there nothing more interesting about your life than saying that you watch fucking like, geez, fucking hell, like. How do they not have anything more interesting to fucking say? And it's like when I go to a party and I talk to them and I'm like, oh, cool. Like, what do you do? What do you do in life? They're like, oh, yeah, I do a degree. And I'm like, oh, do you like your degree? And they're like, nah, I don't like my degree. And I'm like, why the fuck are you doing it then? Like,
but I think a lot of our generation are too scared to be like how, using myself as some example here.
But I think it's like, it's fucking true.
But they're too scared that something's holding them back from being that person they want to be. And like I will get people that listen to this podcast and go, that ginger prick is so annoying. Who does he think he is, talking about a free spirit whilst taking drugs? He's like a champagne socialist. He's a lefty, but he wants to, and it's like back in the day when I was younger, and people used to have that opinion of me. Oh my God, it used to affect me so much. Like, it really used to get to me. Yeah. But then as time evolves and you get older and you understand that you cannot please every single one in this world, the sooner you realize that, and the sooner you understand that people will hate you no matter what. You could be the most nicest person on this planet. You could donate all your money to charity. People are still going to go, he's a cunt. Do you know what I mean?
Exactly. It's like, and I feel like it's taken me a long time. I feel like I'm still on the path to realizing that fully. But it's like, especially people around my circle, it's like a lot of them, I would get the like judgy comments and I'd get the like just bullshit, fake shit. And it's like, for a long time it would get to me. But it's getting to a point now where it's like, I feel like I'm starting to get some recognition. Like, I've had like some amazing guests on, and I'm starting to get more of the, and I feel like you can probably relate to this. It's like when you first start, no one's being like, oh, wow, that's fucking cool. Like, or if they do, it's very like judgmental. And now I feel as though it's trending more towards like, damn, oh shit, like it actually works. Like you can like, if you work hard at something and you pick a goal, it actually can lead somewhere fucking productive. And like,
and there's a lot of people, you'll be surprised, there's a lot of people rooting for you. Like when I watch your sort of stuff, I'm like, I'm really rooting for this guy. I really it makes me feel really happy, and I get a sense of achievement when I see you get a guest on that I think, wow, he's got this guest on. So and when you're with like-minded people that are all cheering each other on, especially in the times that we're in now, like we could so easily say, oh, the government's given us a really shit card, I can't get a job. Because I was like that person. I was like that. I was working in a dead-end job and was blaming like other people for the reason that I was sitting in behind a fucking till. And then I thought, look, what's the worst that can happen? Let me just jump into like fucking self-employment. I plotted away for a few years and whatever, and then it's only been positive since. And you what happens is, along the way you get little sparks of, holy shit, this is real. Like for me last year at Body Power, I think was a big one, when I turned up to the booth where my sponsors were, and I was just sort of on my phone, And I looked up and there was a queue of people, and I was like, oh, like I wonder who they're queuing for. I was looking for like other athletes, and then they were like, no, these people are here to see you.
Yeah.
And I was like, holy shit, there's a queue of people that's like spanning the whole like half of the room that just want to come and fucking talk to me. And I was like,
fucking
maybe this
mind-blowing.
is
Like, it's like,
maybe
I feel
this is it.
Is that when
Yeah.
you realized you're like, oh shit, like I actually make a difference? Because it's like when I like the thing is like it's not an insignificant part of my day when I watch your stories, but then when I watch a lot of other people's stories, I'm like, oh cool, fucking you went to the beach. I don't give a shit. But it's like
No, I feel you.
I guess maybe because it's I know you, but it's like even just as like one of your followers, I still like like I'll mention something you said to one of my friends or like something like that. It's like and I feel like that's the impact that you cannot see, right? You cannot see the impact where some kid has watched your story and then he's like, holy shit, I'm gonna do that, and then he does it, and then it's like he actually has his life is 2% better or whatever.
And that's the other thing. I really hate calling my followers. It really makes me feel like it like almost puts me on some weird hierarchical level that makes me better than them.
Yeah.
So I like you're not my followers. You're part of me. You're part of the movement sort of thing. And going back to your point where you like in terms of having an effect on people, when I bump into people when I'm out, they're like, oh my God, you know, like I fucking love you, man. And I think I have to think, what is it that you love about me? Because I'm just like, and then they're like, oh, just the way you just talk when you go to work in Shoreditch. I'm like, I don't even know what the fuck I said when I walked to work. Like, I'm not too sure. And then, but like I said with you, you'll get to these points, you'll get these realization, and you'll get, you know, credited, and just fucking stick in them, and I'm sure you'll go a long way.
Yeah, like I used to doubt if I'd make it, but now it's more like I've gotten more and more reassurance from people, from yourself, where it's like it is purely a matter of time, and it's like, and it's just like if I feel like if I keep doing what I'm doing as genuinely as I can and working as hard as possible, there's no way feasibly that I cannot make it. So I'm just like sitting back, fucking waiting for it to happen, and it's just like, and it's even degrees. It's like I watched Bohemian Rhapsody the other day. And this is the big thing for me. It's like trying to figure out. It basically made me think like, shit, do I niche down to fitness or do I not? Because it's like, if I niche down to fitness, we can't have the political conversation. Or if we can, it's not as easily accessible, right? And then again, it's also, if I niche down to fitness, I think there'll be a faster increase to where I'll be. But it's say if I stay in a more general territory, then I can be the Joe Rogan, right? And it's like...
Exactly.
Like Joe didn't start when he was 19, so it's like...
Yeah, of course.
Like, how far can I take this? And that's the thing. It's like, fuck, it blows my mind. And it's like,
don't force anything though, man. Never force anything. Never go, oh, just because so and so. And I've been there, you know. I've sort of looked at when I remember first started doing stuff. I'd look at Joe Delaney. Right. Do you know who Joe Delaney is? Yeah, the bulk powers athlete. Yeah. So I would look at him and go, all right, I must try and emulate his style and his, you know, I must try and push bulk powders. And then I was just like, looking at myself, re-editing my videos, going, "Look, this isn't me. What am I doing? This is just ridiculous."
That same thing as me. Like when I first started, like this is my problem with the first everything I used to do on YouTube. It was like I would talk about shit that I knew fucking nothing about. For some reason, I thought I had the right to talk about it, and I think people say nowadays everyone's got a fucking camera and they can talk about shit. But in reality, most people have fucking bland opinions, and that's it. Like, most people don't have anything interesting to say about most topics, maybe one topic. And it's like...
Yeah, of course.
That's the thing. It's most people are fucking boring. That's like end of story. And I was trying to... I would look at other people's content and try emulate it or try do that. And now it's like... Like, if I was going to do YouTube now, I'd almost want to stop watching YouTube for a while at all.
Of course.
While I make it, just to figure out what the fuck my style is, because it's like...
I was just about to say that. I was about to say unsubscribe and do you, and
and that's
very good. It's like very good thing to do.
Trying to do that because it's like, say for instance with Steve Hall, it's like if I was to niche down like to fitness, like Steve's a massive inspiration of mine. I love the work he does, but it's like I don't just want to be a Steve Hall clone. Like he makes amazing work, but Steve Hall is Steve Hall. So it's like, and that's always the thing. But and it's like I want to. And I think
because I spoke to Steve Hall. I spoke to Steve Hall at the De Novo UK event, and we were talking about Instagram. And Steve went, "Oh yeah, no, I had a conversation with Luke Johnson, and he said oh, maybe I should cut back on Instagram stories. I'm like, hold on. Don't just cut back on Instagram stories because you've been told to cut back on Instagram stories. I really enjoy watching Steve's Instagram stories because they're really fucking educational.
100%.
Don't just because, don't because they're really long in depth and you might click on his story and there's loads of little stories. Don't just think, oh, people are going to switch off from that, because a lot of people, your engagement's good. So, just fucking don't do that shit, man, I said. And he was like, oh, okay, cool.
Yeah, like I find like a lot of, like, as you said before, it's like I feel like people disregard stories a lot, but it's like that is like a lot of times in my life I don't sit down and watch YouTube, right? There'll be stretches where I haven't seen one of your videos for ages, but then it's like every day I'll see your story, like it's pretty much guaranteed, and it's like I always get my like I'll always see it, and it's like there's certain people like especially the British scene. I almost wish I lived in Britain now, but it's like all you guys in Britain, it's like I pretty much always see your stories and always like listen through them and just like. And like, I always get the comments from people that aren't in fitness, and they'll be like, "Oh, your stories are so long," and I'm like, "Fucking cool!" Like, I don't care. Fucking skip them. I don't give a shit. It's like you can give some real
you should
value
come over,
there,
man.
I'm hoping to. If I can save up some money this holiday, I'm hoping to go over. Hopefully, train all you dudes. That'd be fucking dope. Like,
yeah, man, that'd be come
sick.
over. That'd be good.
Yeah, if I can save the money though, that's the thing. I'm a poor student, but.
Fuck it, man. I can help you out if you need a little bit of propping up, man. Come over, man. I'd love for you to experience. It'd be cool.
It'd be so fucking dope. Like I always see like you train in Kings and shit, and I'm like, that is a fucking dope gym. Like
we've got some good gyms over here. There's very far and few.
Yeah,
but it's and it's the first time that I've really felt part of a family within a gym, because I used to train at our leisure centre. They had it had like Cybex equipment, so it wasn't too bad. It was actually okay. But being part of like a gym like King's is like you walk in and everyone's like, this is family time as well as training time. It's brilliant.
Right, yeah. So it's like, do you find it hard to not get into conversations though? Because I recently just moved gyms, and it was quite a big decision for me. Like, because I can't really afford to go to two, and leaving. I've been at this one gym for ages, and I've gained so much muscle there, and just. It's been like people have seen me go from what I was to where I am, and it's like people have seen that, and it's been like and I had a lot of respect in that gym, but it was like it wasn't the bodybuilding gym. The gym is changing. The manager was a bit of a dickhead, frankly. Like he didn't respect gym culture. Pisses me off. Like he's just a fucking idiot. I don't care.
A lot of us. A lot of us have our head down and our headphones on in this gym, but then because I do what I do on sort of YouTube and Instagram and things like that, I'll sort of occasionally look up and I'll see someone that's just like looking at me like that, as if to say, and then I don't mind. Like I'd rather you come over and speak to me, not just stare at me. Like look, I'll do is I'll make a conscious effort to take my headphones off, so that someone would come over and say, oh, I really like your content and shit. But they just fucking stare at me, and I'm like, all right, come on, man. I'm trying to train. Yeah. But I'm not like, even at King's, I'm not a fucking big name. I'm just like this dude. But I would definitely recommend coming over and staying down like London. Southeast down here would be good.
Yeah, like fuck, I'd love to do that so much, because it's just like New Zealand bodybuilding scene. It's like I know. Do you know Eugene Tao? Like I'm going to his workshop this weekend, which would be pretty fucking sick. But it's like that. I know one guy going who's like competing in the INBA, and it's like pretty much the only guy I know who's serious about fitness, or like very, very few guys who are actually full bodybuilding, right? And it's like fuck. And then I look in the UK, and it's like you got you, Josh, Mo, like AJ, like fuck. It's like holy
and we've
shit.
Got quite good seminars as well.
Exactly.
Like we do. And me, Callum, and Luke from the Muscle Mentors, we were training in Crayford the other day, and we did a leg session, and we walked in, and it was so quiet, and I was like, oh fuck, what's happened? And Tom Platz was in the corner doing a seminar.
What the
so
shit?
It's like, I
Jeez,
know. I mean,
that shit doesn't happen here.
It doesn't. No, I mean, great guy, but some of his fucking. Some of his techniques are a bit questionable. We were just looking and we were like, that's not even a quarter rep. That's like a sixth rep. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
But it was weird having Tom Platz just there whilst you're training your legs. I suppose it was great to have. But yeah, you'll enjoy it. We can if you came over, we can just we can drive about. You know, I've got a car and we
That'd
can
be
go to
fucking
other
sick.
gyms and shit.
Oh, like the
Look in the new year. Like flights will hopefully
not
be
too bad,
kind of cheap.
not too bad in
and
the year. Because I'm like,
and then well,
because I
just
have 4
hopefully
months right
Brexit
now to.
doesn't fuck you up.
Ooh.
I don't know if that'll have an
it
effect.
is feasible
I mean,
now because I'm a British. My mum's British, so I think I'll be fine.
yeah,
there. So I'm pretty sure I
then
can.
you're cool.
Like I would want like in like a year and a half, I want to live there pretty much. But I also want to do my masters in because I'm doing podiatry, which is again like a degree, same as many people my age, a degree I don't want to do, and I'm glad I've done it.
Okay.
But it's like so now I've done that. I'm going to do masters in exercise science, try and be like Eric, Steve, etc., and then see what the fuck I can do. It's like just somehow making fitness in some point or another. 'Cause it's like, what the fuck is the other option? Like go and fucking become a podiatrist? Like fuck that shit. It's like honestly, like we're very very black or white over in London and England. So if you're coming over here and you can benefit our economy, then you're fine. So you'd have a very warm welcome, I'm sure. Sounds good to me. Yeah, fuck. How are we doing on time? We all good to probably wrap up relatively soon. I don't want to.
Yeah, man. I'm not training. I'm training in a bit. Get some food in me.
Yeah, like, oh fuck. I would like, I've been to London. I'm trying to like get my mum to be like, hey, let's go on a family holiday. Yo. Yes, but like, fuck. Oh, I'd love to just go on like a solo trip. Just go to London. Like, meet up with you. Meet up with Josh. Like, fuck, it'd be so dope.
Yeah.
And it's just like. It's because it's like I've talked to you guys all heaps, right? And it's like I look at the New Zealand scene and I just see fucking trash. Like, have you ever heard of Joseph Rakish? Like, he's just
I haven't.
It's fucking idiot. Like, I hope he doesn't listen, but it's like, bro, he's one of those guys who it's like, oh, he's now a keto poster boy, trains like a fucking idiot, obviously a fake natty. It's like, and then. That's who most people in New Zealand look up to in fitness. And I'm like, are you fucking kidding me? Like, he's a fucking idiot.
Yeah.
Like, Jesus Christ. Like, fuck. And then I look in the UK and it's like, I just see pure gold. And it's like, fuck.
Yeah.
It's just ridiculous. Like, I wish.
Yeah, come and visit. You could visit London. And I think AJ Morris lives up in Birmingham now. I think he's up there. And Birmingham's really good for like gyms. That's really good up there. They've got like Ultimate Fitness and they've got Dorian Yates's Temple Gym. That's where it all began for Dorian, and his son Lewis now runs Temple Gym. But yeah, it's all very easy to get around. Like it takes only like 50 minutes to get from London to Birmingham.
You could just tube,
and obviously,
or like
you could try and time it so that you come over for Body Power Expo.
Oh,
and that way we're all under one roof.
Be dope. Oh, bro,
so instead of like,
Jeez.
because that way, me, Josh, AJ,
all that,
Callum will probably go to Body Power. We'll all be in the same roof, so it will save you like, you traveling everywhere, wouldn't it?
Fuck, it'd be dope. Like, oh, it's just like in New Zealand, pretty much all we have is Eric Helms, and like he's the one saving grace of New Zealand. Like that's all we got.
Yeah, of course.
And it's like fucking hell. Like even our like bodybuilding is like. We have like the IFBB, but it's like no one even knows who they are, and it's like they're not even. I don't think we've had anyone in the Olympia or some shit like, or like I don't know. Like it's just bodybuilding culture is not big here, and it's yeah. Oh fuck! I look at Britain and it's just like damn, like, geez, and even just like as a country in general, like fuck, I'd love to live there. Like if I could ever live just
bodybuilding in Britain has got a lot bigger over the past years with like. Sassan, James Hollinshead, Luke. I think the names that we're producing is quite big now, and a lot of us are going for the sort of classic physique now, which is good, like Joe and guys like that. So yeah, it's definitely we're obviously the US being the big sort of stakeholder, but we're getting our firm sort of grip into the bodybuilding world now, which is good.
And I think you guys, it's definitely when I look at Britain, it's more like you guys have more legitimacy. Like compared to the US, I don't know anyone in the US apart from like 3DMJ where they're actually reputable, or like maybe like a few other people. But it's like I look at most of the people I see from Britain, and there's very little bullshit. And then you look at I guess there's Simeon Panda. He's still in the UK, isn't he?
Yeah, you'll still get your fair share.
But
I think a lot of us just try and siphon out the bullshit and the bro science at the moment, and we're doing quite. I think generally, as a whole, the fitness industry is doing quite well at getting rid of and slowly eradicating the bullshit and the bro science, which is good.
definitely. Like I think it's like I feel like in general the average gym bros is becoming a little more educated, and I like I love to
100%.
see that. It's like we're not fucking idiots anymore.
100%.
Like, and I would just there's a few more topics where I'd like to see it happen, like yeah, like things like steroids. It's like there's still there's very little education around it, and it's like we need people like yourself to just gain more followers.
Because I was on a show in Australia. I don't know if you know it, called the SBS network. I don't know if that's big in
Shredded
New
by
Zealand or
Science
Australia. No, I thought it would be shredded by something, but it was the SBS news channel,
Right.
and I was on it, and Dave Crosland was on it as well, who's like a big expert when it comes down to sort of PEDs. And some of the comments from the crowd were just, even they had a doctor on there that said that post-hoc therapy didn't work, and me and Dave would like,
are you
what the
fucking
fuck? She was like, post-hoc therapy doesn't work, it's not been looked into enough. And Dave Crosland thankfully said, well, Dr. Mike Scally has done years upon years of work looking into gonadotropin therapy, pituitary therapy, and just to come out with such blasé statements like PCT doesn't work, or you just think, Christ, what you're a doctor, what are you telling your patients?
That's the thing though, it's like fuck, I feel like when, like, say for instance with Jordan Peterson, it's like you'll get him on a show, especially with like conventional news, it's like they're not going to actually have genuine, they're not going to look at the arguments, they want a nice headline, and it's like they've got the doctor to be like, nah, steroids are fucking evil, blah blah blah, and then it's like you guys being logical and trying to reason with them. It's like, do you feel like it was have you seen the Kathy Newman interview with Jordan Peterson? It was like
I haven't, no, but
it's fucking like, basically Jordan just keeps giving good points, and the interviewer just it's absolute bullshit, and it's like the interviewer just keeps trying to twist their words. Do you feel like it was similar to that?
Of course.
Oh fuck that shit.
Yeah, that's that's similar to what happens now with the politicians. Though you ask a politician a question, they'll never give you a straight answer. They'll always deviate from it. It's just that's why there's such a big. That's why there's such a big disconnect with politicians, because you turn on the telly and people just can't be bothered. They just think, I'm not getting a straight answer from these guys.
No.
That's why I'm not getting passionate about it, because I don't really know what the fuck's going on.
Yeah, there's quite a refreshing one in New Zealand where they seem to be giving quite genuine answers, and I'm quite a fan.
Right.
I'm hopefully having them on soon. They're like the leader of, or they were the candidate for the Green Party, so like the environmental party. But it's like for most of their positions, they seem to be relatively not a fucking idiot, and they actually like have reasons. They're not just, and whenever someone says like a blasé statement, they're just like, hold the fuck up, like, bro, that's some bullshit, you lying there, like. And I feel like this is why I think the internet's quite good, because it's like you can fact check now. You can kind of be like, actually turns out that's bullshit,
of course,
and it's like that kind of thing. I think is quite good, and I hope the continued I hope the trend of continued education continues, because I feel like the content's going to get more like harder to digest. But I feel like if you sort of sit on the train and then you go from the basic YouTubers, then you go to more like educated people like yourself, and then it's like, then if you make that sort of step, then I feel like you can keep educating yourself and keep learning more.
Yeah,
and
of course.
Sometimes I doubt my own knowledge, but then I talk to one of my friends who know nothing about the gym, and it's like I realize how much I know, and it's
exactly, precisely.
That's the thing. Is there any sort of closing words you'd like to say? Any sort of final statement that you'd like everyone to keep in mind? Just for the
None at all, man. No, just live free. No, nothing, mate. Just get yourself over to the UK.
Oh, I'll try, mate. I'm honestly, I'm buzzing to get over there. And where can people find you? So where can people find YouTube, Instagram, etc.?
Yeah, it's just all one word. So it's tmcycles, all one word.
Sorted. Solid.
And that'll be on Instagram. I don't Snapchat anymore.
No, no one does.
Thank you guys so much for listening to this episode of the Student Side Hustle. I would appreciate so much if you would leave a review if you'd like to hear more of what I'm saying. Then I would love if you would follow me on Instagram or check out my other social media, all linked in the show notes. And again, I would just like to say thank you so much for listening. Have a wonderful evening and study hard.